In this video, I'm going to give you my top 3 tips for organizing your church's media files, whether that's in Dropbox, Google Drive, a NAS, or even just, a bunch of hard drives that you have laying around. These are the best practices that I've found that have helped us stay organized with our media files because it can get real messy real fast. Be sure to stick around till the end of the video because I'm going to give you a couple bonus tips, one of which I hadn't used until just this year, and it's been super helpful in getting to the folders that I need to get to very quickly. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So this is it, all of our media folders for our church. We use Dropbox, and I made a video about that previously about why we chose Dropbox as a cloud storage solution and as a place to store all of our media files. I'll link that below if you want to check that out. And of course, we have some other files and folders inside of Dropbox, but this is all the media related stuff that we have inside of Dropbox. So the first tip that I have for you is organize your projects by the year and then by the event type. So I didn't do this at first. We're not going to look at our older folders, 2015, 16, 17, 18. We're not going to look at those because those are not organized, but we are going to look at 2022 and 2023. So first off, 2022, you can see here, we did organize by the year, right? But this is just everything out there, not organized by event type, just out there. And you can get around, you can find our projects, I think, fairly easily there. But if we go down to 2023, look how organized that is. Everything is organized by event type. We have bumper videos, we have Christmas projects, which has nothing in it yet, but we will here soon. Easter projects, events, ministries, miscellaneous, B-roll, night of worships, sermons and life groups, and then Sunday services, photos, and videos. So that's how we've chosen to organize our folders. First by year, which I feel like should be a given. On top of that, we're also organizing by event type. So again, just kind of keeps things a little bit more succinct. As you start to shoot more and as you start to create more projects, you will then have more projects in your folders and it just becomes more difficult to find what you're looking for. So keeping things organized with those project types ends up helping, I think, in the long run, especially with your Sunday services, things like that. If you shoot photos or video a lot of weeks out of the year, you're going to want to just create a folder for that, put everything in there. Folder for night of worships if you shoot things at night of worships, and then have a folder for your miscellaneous stuff, your men of honor. That's something I could put under ministries. It was just kind of miscellaneous. I just shot some B-roll one day, put it there. And then media room, that is definitely miscellaneous. Not really sure where to put that, but we might want it for something at some point. But at the moment, it doesn't have a set project to be associated with, so I'm going to put it there. So now moving on to the second tip, and this might be a little controversial. I know I've gone back and forth on this myself personally, so I've not always done it this way, but now I am a firm believer in keeping your photos and videos together as opposed to separating them out into 2 different folders in 2 different places. And again, that's something that I used to do too. So if you do it and it works for you, that's great. I just found that me personally with my workflow, it's just so much nicer to have those things together as opposed to being in 2 separate places where I have to go here and then I'm like, oh, I need the photos too, so I got to go over here. If you have a Sunday service and you take both video and photos, putting those both together just makes so much more sense, because oftentimes that I've found when I'm looking for video for a specific event, a lot of times I'm also looking for photos too. Having those both in the same place just makes the most sense for a workflow, at least for me. Again, if it works different for someone else, that's great. These are my personal tips. I don't know if that's controversial. I know a lot of people do separate out their photos and videos. So again, like I said, I've done that in the past. Maybe it's something that's common. Maybe it's something that's not very common. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you do, if you separate your photos and videos into 2 different folders, or if you don't. I'm curious to know what other people are doing and what's the general consensus on that. For example, diving into the folders here, we have our Sunday services from this year. If we shot photos or videos, we would make a folder and put footage and then put photos in there. And then we'll have our raw photos and then we'll have our edited photos that we throw into Lightroom and then edit. So we have footage and photos in most of those folders. And then some Sundays we only took video, so we just have a footage folder. We don't have any photos. It just depends on what was done that week. So now moving on, my third tip, have a specific place for ongoing projects. And as you can see, that's what we've done here with these folders. We realize, there are some projects that we have going on that are not tied down to a specific year. So we would just be recreating those projects every single year inside of the new year folder, or we could just have those in a specific place where those are just ongoing projects and we just understand them to be ongoing. Just continue in those one folders and then everything is there centralized into that folder. The first obvious example of that is sermon videos that you would upload to YouTube. Then we also have our podcast episodes. We still organize those by year, but inside the podcast folder with all of our fonts, podcast intro and outro, podcast logo, and other assets like that. Then we have a folder for media and checklist updates. So if there's ever a tutorial that I make for a specific media position, I'll just store all of that footage and those projects there. And if you're interested in that, I have a couple videos talking about how I share resources with our media team members. I'll link that below. Then we have a folder that's just for headshot photos. And then we have a folder for our countdown video and all assets and stuff related to that. I also have a video on how I created a custom countdown video for our church. So if you're interested in that, the link will also be in the description. And then lastly, not really a project, but we have our photo and video assets. So these are Lightroom presets, these are video LUTs, these are video transitions, anything like that we use specifically for church use, that's where we'll store it. All right, so those are the 3 main tips that I have for you. Now onto the kind of bonus tips. I didn't feel like they deserve their own number, but still worth mentioning. First, let's talk about folder structure for your individual projects. So let's just run this as an example, as if I were actually doing this. We actually do need to make a new website video. I'm gonna make an actual just generic website videos folder because we have a few website videos that we actually want to do. I'm just going to create a folder that'll house all of those because I know we'll be making a few. But for this first project, let's just say it's a general website video that we're working on. First thing I'm going to do, create a few folders. First, I'm going to create a footage folder. I'm going to create a photos folder. I'm going to create a project file folder. I'm going to create a renders folder, and I'm going to create an audio folder. And this is the folder structure that I use inside of projects about 99% of the time. If I do have a lot of like random things that I also need to bring in for a project, I will create like an assets folder if I need to bring in like graphics and different things like that. My main 5 folders are going to be audio, footage, photos, project file, and renders. Then inside of each of those, in audio, I'll have one for music, and then I'll have another for mics and different audio sources. And then under footage, I will sort that out by camera. So if I shot with multiple cameras, I will write out which camera is which, and then I will put the footage under there accordingly. Under photos, I typically do a raw, just so it's at the top, I put an A in front, but raw, and then I have my Lightroom photos. So when I export from Lightroom, I will put them there. If I do anything in Photoshop, I will also create a Photoshop file and save it there, but I keep all of that under photos. And then under project file, it's usually just the Premiere Pro file, but if I'm also in After Effects, I will sort that out. I will do Premiere, and then I will create another folder for After Effects, and I will put those there. I don't often go into After Effects, but if I do, that's how I will organize it. And then in renders, that's where all the exports go. So the video exports will go there. Sometimes if I'm doing a lot of different stuff, maybe I'll do a test export folder, maybe I'll do a rough cut export folder. It just depends on what the project it calls for, but most of the time, honestly, I don't. I just have one folder and all the exports are there. If I'm gonna be doing a lot of vertical video, then maybe I'll create a specific folder for Reels exports, for vertical video exports, just to keep those separate from the horizontal 16:9 videos that I export out as well. So that is the basic folder structure that I use for pretty much every single project that I make. And so now moving on to the last little bonus tip that I have for you. You know, we've created so many folders that now to get to a specific project, I have to go into like 7, 8, 9 different folders till I finally get to the thing that I'm looking for. When you're moving in and out of folders all day, every day, that eats up a significant amount of time. And so what I've started doing this year, and this has helped my workflow like tremendously. When I'm working on a project, I will take that project and I will put it on the sidebar in the Finder. So I will place it right there in the sidebar. So when I'm working on that project, all I have to do is click on that project and boom, I'm in that project with just 1 click instead of 8 clicks to get to the folder that I want to get to. And then when I'm done with that project, I'll just remove it from the sidebar and then be able to throw something else in there when I'm working on it. And as you can see, that's what I've done with our worship and media folder itself. So I keep that there so I have quick access to it, because otherwise it would be another like 2-3 clicks to get to this folder. So I keep that there, and I keep a few other things that I go to on a regular basis there on the sidebar. And then I move things in and out based on what I'm currently working on. So that is my last little bonus tip. Put your current projects in the sidebar while you're working on them, and then take them out once you're done with them. And again, that's something that I didn't start doing until this year. It saved a bunch of time. Let me know if that's something that you've been doing. Maybe you've been doing it forever, and I'm just late to the game. I don't know. So those are the tips that I have for organizing your church's media folders. Hopefully that has been helpful to you. If there's anything that you think that I missed, anything that you want to add to the list, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to check out those other videos that I mentioned, I will have those linked down below, including how we get unlimited storage with Dropbox, which has come in handy. As you can see here in this video, we have about 37 terabytes inside of Dropbox currently, so it's definitely coming in handy. I'll have that link down below if you want to check that out. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I'll see you in the next video.